To all the fathers out there on Father's Day, where you just don't get to see your children, I'm wishing you all a very happy Father's Day, even though your heart is sinking. And I get it. I'm Ken Gottfried. I have not seen my daughters in 12 years, 11 years. It kind of gets all mished in. Don't get a call Father's Day. Haven't spoke to them in 12 years, and it's not because of a lack of trying. But anyhow, what I wanted to say to all the fathers out there that are in this situation from family court because the judge has basically crushed your hopes and ordered child abuse. By the way, this is child psychological abuse. It's in the DSM under V995.51, and it's called a shared persecutory delusion and a false factitious belief imposed upon another. I could go into detail on this whole thing, but you know what it is. This is one of the most horrible types of abuse you can do to a child because it messes with their thought process, their ability for emotion and empathy, puts them in a delusion most of the time for the rest of their life, because as they're growing they get no critical thinking skills. They go into such a bad place that it is literally next to impossible to bring them back. Now here's the issue that we all run into, is that when we bring it up in court, hey, my child is being psychologically abused, I need them to be assessed. And exactly for the two things, shared persecutory delusion and a false factitious belief. So you have to have a specialist. Now the cool thing is you got Dr. Childress, who has done an assessment of the children, but it needs to be done by somebody who understands family structures and child psychological abuse, not some child abuser that is in the DHHS or anybody else, because all these people are doing is trying to protect their Title D&E income, because that pays for 100% of everything they do. So they are not going to go against the judge. They are not going to go in to see, oh, this child is really being abused. So one of the things that we all run into is that when we go to the police station, the police are like, oh, this is a family court thing, it's out of my jurisdiction. When we go to the sheriff's department, whether it's a deputy or the sheriff, they're always like, oh, I've seen this before. Oh no, I'm not going to write a child abuse report, even though every single state in the United States, it is mandatory for them to write a child abuse report. It's a mandated state statute. And if they deny it and you go to 911, you say, hey, I'm dealing with deputy this or officer this, and you tell them I'm trying to write a child abuse report, 911 will be like, well, that's at their discretion. We're not going to write them up on failing to write a child abuse report, which is mandatory in all 50 states. So at that point, these child abusers who are deputies, who are police officers, are literally telling you, I don't care whether or not your child is being abused. Although, if it's sexual abuse or physical abuse, they're always happy to write a report, but they understand that child psychological abuse is money. Money for them, money for their department, money for their friends, money for the attorneys, money for the judges. It's a circle. So they're all involved in abusing your kids. So, and I don't know how to get around this other than to say, use your Second Amendment right. See, if I knew everything that I know now and how horrible this was, not only to me, but to my children, I mean, my children are, granted, if you look at them from the outside, oh, they're doing okay. But internally, I could go into a lot of different aspects of this, but I'm not trying to make this about, each individual situation. There's a lot of personality disorders, there's a lot of depression, anxiety, and the fact that your child is now 12 times more likely to commit suicide should raise your eyebrows. It should be, everybody should be jumping on this. What do you mean? What are you talking about? This is what this does. So for this Father's Day, I'm going to encourage you to take your phone and go into the sheriff's department, go into the police department, go live on your phone or record it, and then put it on Facebook and on YouTube. Look, this department is not filing child abuse reports. This is how they get around, there's no one has ever written a child abuse report against this judge, although there's 20 people in line that have tried, but they've been denied. The only way to get this into their brain is to get 5 or 6 or 7 or a dozen. Trust me, in New York, in many of these states, there's hundreds, if not thousands, of parents that are dying because they're not seeing their kids. Their children have been abused to a point where there's no contact with them. I get it. That's what this is. So get them together and use your Second Amendment right to end this. Go after these corrupt police officers, corrupt deputies who are all saying we're not going to write a child abuse report. Or go after 911 because they're the ones who are saying, it's okay not to write a child abuse report. Or feel free to go after the Attorney General. Yes, because 100% of his department is paid from Title D funds, and he or she totally understand that this is child abuse. Psychological child abuse is in the DSM-5, and they don't want to do a damn thing about it because all this money is coming in. Let me explain what happens. So when I found out what was going on with all this, I called up Sarah Molesky in North Carolina because this is where it happened. I contacted her. She says $200 million a year flow in for free grants out of the federal government as grants from Title D and E funds. That goes and distributes to all the DHHS. So you're never going to find a DHHS individual who is actually going to assess a child for psychological child abuse. It won't happen. They get 100% of that money. It pays all their bills. Okay, and they'll be damned if they're going to go to Dr. Childress and get the assessment and then have somebody competent to do it. And I wouldn't recommend that they do it because they're all corrupt. They all don't give a shit about psychological child abuse, and that's how they make their money. Period. So you have to find somebody who understands this. Secondly, I'm going to mention this. Don't use the word parental alienation. Forget that. Erase that from your mind. Erase that from the courts. Erase that from everything, because they use that as a lightning rod to be like, parental alienation. That's a term that's been debunked. Correct. That's why child psychological abuse has been written up by Joseph Spinazzola by the APA. And he has written about how it is more damaging than sexual abuse. I'm going to repeat this. It is more damaging than sexual abuse. So at any point, if you're new into this, if you're not new into this type of abuse, if you see that there's an issue in your daughter's or your son's eyes, and you're going through divorce, and you're losing a bit of connection, and you see there's an issue, there's possibly an issue where they need to be assessed for child psychological abuse. A shared persecutory delusion and a false factitious belief imposed upon another. To my knowledge, only Dr. Childress has this assessment, and the assessment is based on Salvador Minuchin, John Bowlby, and Aaron Beck. These are like three of the biggest pillars in psychology. I highly recommend that 100% of what he has been saying is spot on. And why? I've read all his stuff. I've seen what he does. He's not placating anybody. He's kind of gruff and he's a curmudgeon, but I can't say he's wrong on any of this. And he has the only assessment. The problem that we run into as parents, and again, I've spoke to Watauga County, North Carolina. I've spoke to Andrea Capua, who is the Watauga County attorney. By the way, she was my first attorney. God forbid she should recuse herself from this because it's a conflict of interest, but she's a corrupt piece of shit. Yes, she's a corrupt piece of shit, because I asked her specifically, how does DHHS handle child psychological abuse? She refused to get me that information. I asked Tom Hughes and Chad Slagle in the DHHS and said, hey, what do you guys do to assess a child when this is happening? They refused to respond. They said, oh, you got to speak to our attorney about this. So the combination of them being dicks and letting child abuse happen, knowing that a parent can lose their child for the rest of their lives. This child will be abused and meshed in with one parent, not have the ability for critical thinking skills, be more likely to have horrible relationships later on, and many, many other issues, depression, anxiety, and all this other stuff. So don't think for a second, oh, this is just one thing and a little bit happening because of this divorce. This is the most serious child abuse among anything. Okay, I spoke to many parents, male, female. This is one of the worst child abuses around, and what we have is we have an orchestration from sheriff's department, police departments, attorney generals, district attorneys, county attorneys, attorney generals, governors, politicians, everybody refusing to act on this, including the entire DHHS, which they're supposed to be, oh, we're going to protect the kids. No, they're not. Okay? And you have judges ordering child abuse all the time. I have 1,100 judges accused of child abuse right now, and we can't get one single report written. 1,100 judges in all 50 states. And you know why it's 1,100? Because the other 20, 40, 100,000 don't know about my page, childabusevejudges.com. I promise you, if most people knew about it, they would fill this out. The problem is the FBI, the prior establishment that was running the FBI, I sent it to them 3 different times, and I got a form letter the first time, we're looking into it, which we're not doing anything. And the other 2 times, it was sent back. Oh, we're not going to do anything. I sent them a box with 1,100 complaints about judges and everybody surrounding them where they could not write reports. They could not write a child abuse report. It's mandatory in all 50 states. This is a thing that boggles my mind. If you go into the police, hey, I believe my child, or going to a deputy's office, my child is being psychologically abused. They write the report. It goes to DHHS. The actual assessment is 2 pages long, should take maybe an hour, hour and a half, and it's 13 questions. That's it. That's all that needs to be done. But these people refuse to acknowledge child psychological abuse. They refuse to protect the kids. This is nothing about the best interest of the kids, and there's nothing anybody can do, because any oversight, any little bit, whether it's a judicial oversight committee from any of the states, whether it's the internal investigation, or in any of the police officers, sheriff's department, they don't investigate themselves. The only thing that you can do to protect your kids is use your Second Amendment right and shoot them all until they start writing child abuse reports. I wish there was another thing I could say, but there's fucking not. Okay? So if you have, send this to every police officer, every sheriff's department, and have them tell me, oh, what are you saying? Are you saying kill, police officers and sheriff's department and judges and everything? Yes, that's exactly what the hell I'm saying, because it's the only way you're going to protect your kids. Because what's going to happen if when enough deputies and police department, when they start dying, okay, that is the only way they're going to start writing child abuse reports for psychological child abuse, because we've tried everything up the ladder. And this is not just me. This is everybody. This is 20,000, 100,000 people who've tried to actually write reports and get help for their kids. And every one of them has been shot down. And God forbid you should go to the APA, the American Psychological Association. Oh my God. Even though they have people like Joe Spinazzola, who's written articles about how horrible this is, any of the presidents, the past presidents, who I've spoke to, from Antonio Puente, Jessica Daniel, I've spoke to everybody since 2017. Every president refuses to have any type of meaningful discussion. Any of them. They have refused. Okay, hey, let's talk about this child abuse. Let's talk about I've seen 350 suicides from parents who are trying to get their kids help. This is fucked up. It is a way to push people away from their kids, screw them up, screw up their kids for the rest of their lives, and you'll fucking deal with it, because we're making $77 billion a year from this corruption. That's what they make just in Title IV D&E grants that come to every state in the United States. That is not including the lawyers, the judges who are lawyers. Oh, and by the way, this is really important. 88%, and I spoke to Patrick Kinlaw. He is the director of the Judicial Retirement Fund, and he told me 88% of that money that they collect out of that $200,000 that goes into the general fund funds the Judicial Retirement Fund. I'm going to repeat that again because it's worth saying. 88% of all judges' retirement come out of that $200 million that North Carolina gets. And I am sure that in every state, that is what's happening. You are dealing with corruption at such a high level, okay, where what can you do? What can you do? Because they got the police force who want to fucking shoot you and arrest you. They have the sheriff's department who want to shoot you and arrest you when you're bringing this up. They'll throw you out of their office. God forbid you should record them saying, no, we won't write a child abuse report. Oh my God. They don't want to have that on tape. So they will do everything they can to throw you out of their office. We're not going to do any of this on tape because they know it's fucking illegal. They are abusing kids willy-nilly. Now, here's one situation. I actually had a document that said from the North Carolina Professional Licensed Counselors Association that said my daughters have been abused for a year and a half by a psychologist. The psychologist was authorized by 2 judges, 2 lawyers that my ex had, said my kids were abused. Here, proof from the North Carolina Professional Licensed Counselor and Mental Health Association. How much more do we need to say, hey, this is abuse? We need you to write a fucking report. I am not a guy who's going to be like, oh, shoot everybody, da-da-da. No. But if you are protecting your child, and the only people in your way that should be writing a report and refusing to write a report Okay? Those are the people who should be protecting your kids. Those are the people who should be protecting your kids. Oh my God, that is fucked up. You are not doing your job. You are putting yourself in the front saying, oh, I've seen this before, so I'm not going to write a report. Fuck you. Everybody from Len Hageman, Watauga County, by the way, if you are in North Carolina and this is happening with Rebecca Eggers Grider, who is, literally involved in my daughter's abuse. Okay, by the way, this kind of abuse is one of the most serious emotional abuses you can do to a parent. Period. They know this is because they want to get you on your heels, because they're trying to fight and throw you off and do whatever they can. Fuck them. Okay? If you are in a court case with Rebecca Eggers Grider, fucking shoot her in the head. She abused my kids. She's a child abuser. Fuck you. Fuck all your rules. Fuck everything that you're thinking. I have documentation that she abused my kids. I have documentation that Tamara Divinary abused my kids. I have documentation that Judge Hal Harrison abused my kids. I have documentation that Tom Hughes of DHHS and Chad Slagle of DHHS, Watauga County, abused my kids. Okay? This is bullshit. And I know all of you are going through this throughout all over the United States. Fucking use your Second Amendment right and shoot them in the fucking head. Yeah, I'm pissed. Because I'm seeing and I'm speaking to so many people every other week, every month, going through the same shit. And when I try and call up and I'm finding out, hey, how come we can't write a child abuse report? They give me a line of shit. They give the parents a line of shit. All it takes is an assessment of the child by somebody who's knowledgeable and assessments of the parents under parenting skills. If there is something else happening, an accusal of sexual abuse, accusal of physical abuse, of course, you got to check into that. But once that's been cleared and they're still not seeing their parents, the kids are still not seeing their parents, what do you have left? This is bullshit. This is a way of making money and fucking over kids. Happy Father's Day. Fuck you. You can't see your kids and they hate you and they fear you. Oh my God. If there is something happening like that in your family, okay, and you haven't abused your kids and you are the soccer dad and you are the person who went out, then there is something really wrong happening. And if they don't do an assessment of that child, then the whole system is fucked up. Use your Second Amendment right, protect your kids, and you have to bring it to a level where they're going to understand they need to write child abuse reports and assess the child. Now, I'm not going to say, oh, if they tell you. Now, this happens when I call Josh Stein. He's the governor of North Carolina. He is a child abuser piece of shit. Okay? When I brought this up to him, he totally ignored it. When I spoke to his people, they were all like, oh, I said, I want to report child abuse. They go, oh, is this happening during a divorce? I said, yeah. Oh, well, we have to let the courts handle it. Really? Hi, my kid is being sexually assaulted. Oh, is this during a divorce? Then it's okay to sexually assault your child. That's what, Josh Stein, the governor of North Carolina, his people that you call up, that's what they're saying. So if you're in North Carolina, you have a child abusive, corrupt governor, a child abusive, corrupt attorney general who refused to look into this, who are actively gaslighting everybody in North Carolina and saying everything is beautiful. Oh yeah, while children are being abused. There's nothing you can do when you are dealing with all of these levels of people that are gaslighting everyone and saying it is okay to abuse your kids. And we're not going to do anything. We're not going to write reports. The best thing about the police and the sheriff's department not writing reports, there's no history. So, like when I tried to write my reports, there's no history. Even though the 20 other people that called me up from that same district trying to write reports, trying to go to the police, and they're all telling him the same thing. Well, we've never had any issues like this. What are we talking about? Len Hageman, you're a fucking piece of shit. Okay, you're the sheriff of that town, the sheriff of that county, and you actively are abusing kids and refusing to write reports. So if you run into Len Hageman and you are having this happen, you are not going to get a report written. You might as well use your Second Amendment right to protect your child, because these pieces of shit are gaslighting you, and they're hoping that your child will snap. They're hoping that you will snap. It's been a long time since I've seen my girls. And you guys are playing this game, and I've spoke to so many people from, even I've got to end it here. And yes, I'm tired. I've tried to be a pacifist and tried to go all the nice routes, but there's no route. When you, a sheriff, deputy, police officer, attorney general, governor, State Bureau of Investigations, North Judicial Standards Commission, Seth Banks over at the Watauga County District Court, when you guys won't return a call and won't write a report, even though I have a report that says my children were psychologically abused. When I have a report that says that this person who was working with my kids, counseling my kids, giving them EMDR and doing all this stuff, and says, oh, I'm going to make it so you can see him in 3-4 months. And a year later, they go and they say things like, I don't care if my dad is dead. That is what we look at. That is what we are praying that, oh, I'm going to see my kids in 3-4 months, and 11 months later, I hope my dad is dead, or I hope my mom is dead. That is why you have to use your Second Amendment right, because your child will live the rest of their life in fear and hate of you, and in a delusion to where they don't understand. And they're taught that everything that parent says, male, female, whatever it is, mom or dad, is a liar, and they're manipulative. And no matter what they say, they're trying to do this or do that. There's nothing. There's a no-win situation for parents who are going through this child abuse. And the fact that DHHS won't investigate or do an assessment, the fact that these pieces of shit won't give a plan of this is how we take, this is what we do when we have a psychological child being psychologically abused. This is our procedure. You've got one if they're being molested. You've got one if they're being abused physically. I can go on, but yeah, if you are stuck, and send this to everybody, every officer, every police officer, every sheriff, every attorney general, every one of them. Because if they don't start a program and a procedure for parents like us who are screaming from the hills, I believe my kid is abused or is being abused, and they don't have an assessment procedure to go after, to find out about this child, an assessment procedure to see if both parents have good parenting practices. Okay, now one of the things I will say, I've done this so long, and I know there are parents out there that I have spoke to that may have some issues, and you may be right on, say, 15% to even 20% of some of those parents I've spoken to. But you don't throw out the 80%, 85% of those kids who are actually being abused. to protect those 15%. You just don't do that. And you can't do that. Children are being abused, and I'm sick of it. I'm sick of my phone calls. I'm sick of all this bullshit, and it's time that you guys pay the piper. You deny writing a child abuse report, then that person, that parent, that grandparent, whoever the hell is in there, should use their Second Amendment right. And I would recommend that you video this and you post it online, and then you come at them again and you speak to their supervisors and you get that on video and you post that. Don't do anything rash. But when your back is up against the wall and you may never, ever see your kid again. By the way, 90% of these kids who go through this abuse never speak to their parent again, ever. Most of them are like, oh, my dad or my mom died, I never figured it out. There is so much damage to that child for their lives. It is horrible. So for this Father's Day, get fathers together. Go into the sheriff's department. All of you videotape. We have 3 fathers, three mothers. We have a bunch of people who want to write child abuse reports. Have your cameras going. Have your phone cameras video recording and post it. Post that son of a bitch refusing to write a child abuse report. Get that on video. If they said, no, we can't take this on video, fuck that person. 911, this person will not write a child abuse report. Stop it. Yes, this child abuse is so horrible to both the parents and the child that I don't understand why more people haven't gone this route. But in order to protect your child at this point, because I've not seen a single report written for a judge who is ordering child abuse. Yes, ordering child abuse. And if you're in that court, if you're in a court and you say, I believe my child is being psychologically abused, they need to be assessed, and that judge says, no, I don't think so. You need to think very seriously about your next steps, because you have to protect your child. The main thing is an assessment protects you, protects the child, protects everybody. An assessment of you protects you and your child. A judge who is not using the best interests of the child, who's refusing to get this child assessed, is protecting his seat, his retirement, and the money coming in. Use your Second Amendment right, because this will continue happening to more and more children and more parents. I have seen 350 suicides from parents who are so distraught they don't know what to do and they don't have answers. With this, happy Father's Day. We're all in this together, and I'll probably be arrested for this because I'm saying what needs to be said. Oh, and by the way, I have 1,200 judges accused of child abuse. So technically in every single state, when you come to me, because I'm saying all this, it's mandatory that you write 1,200 judges up for child abuse. And then have the child assessed, have the parents assessed. If that happens, I may retract this. But until then, no. Happy Father's Day.